Hi Tarot trainees, it is lesson 10 in the Trainee Tarot course, and in this lesson I'm basically just going to talk you through some book recommendations and a few resources that you can use and just a few other ways to help you to progress on the journey that you started with me, or maybe if you were already doing your tarot thing then you've just kind of refreshed with me or whatever it is. So just to give you guys some ideas of what I think you could go on and progress into now that this course is over finally. The first thing I want to do is recommend some books, and a few people have asked me, to recommend some decent books or to review certain books that I have mentioned in other videos and such. So hopefully this is going to clear up a lot of those kinds of questions and help people to understand which resources are good for the bookshelf. I'm going to kick off with Tarot 101 by Kim Huggins because I know I praise the hell out of this one, and it's well deserved. It is a fantastic book. It's quite a thick, meaty book, and it just basically will give you everything that you need to know, and I'm not even kidding you. It is just such an incredibly all-encompassing, well-rounded resource. She talks through the definitions of each card, different ways of reading each card. She goes through ethics, different approaches to tarot. Everything is written in a really accessible way. It's very friendly. She is a great reader. She's very contemporary. She will dispel a lot of the myths that surround certain aspects of the tarot reading process or certain things about the cards that need to be cleared up. She goes into the history, the origins. When I started out with teaching this 10-part course, I really did think about the way she lays out this book, like just in terms of what to consider teaching and what I think it's important and practical to teach. So yeah, it is a really fantastic resource. I would definitely recommend it. I feel really bad for only saying that about it because there are a few people that have asked me, to review it full on, which I'm not planning on doing. But yeah, spread ideas, how to design your own spreads, how to work out what kind of reader you are. There's loads of resources in there. There's websites that she would recommend, all that kind of thing, and further reading. So it's just a really all-encompassing book for people on any stage of the tarot path, actually. I got it when I was far from being a beginner, and I still found loads of helpful information in there. Step by Step Tarot by Terry Donaldson. This is a great book for those learning with the Rider-Waite. It is also good on a more holistic level. It's not just about the Rider-Waite. The Rider-Waite, in fact, is simply the deck that he chooses to use the images from. He says nowhere in this book that it is supposed to be like a Rider-Waite guidebook, and he certainly doesn't go massively into the symbolism of Rider-Waite. He simply uses the Rider-Waite imagery. So it is good for anybody reading any kind of tarot deck. These definitions are really accessible. They're quite light. They're kind of like, he writes in a light-hearted, accessible manner, just as though he's talking to you in the room. He also has the bullet point definitions at the back, and a few bits and pieces on how to read, about not being mechanistic, that kind of thing. So there's a bit of guidance in there as well. The reason I'm recommending this one is that when I got heavily back into tarot about a year and a half ago now, I really wanted to get a resource that was accessible, that would lend itself to me using it as a springboard for my own ideas. And I thought that this one was just perfect. So yeah, Step by Step Tarot. Terry Donaldson is a great writer about tarot. Tarot for the Curious Spirit, Awakening the High Priestess Within by Barbara Van Lever. And don't be fooled by the High Priestess Within part. This is not actually a book that is geared only towards women. In the first chapter she talks about how there's a High Priestess within all of us, because the High Priestess of course is an archetype, and we should be able to tap into and align ourselves with all of the archetypes that pop up in tarot. So yeah, it's not a book that's geared towards women, although I do have one on my recommended reading list that is geared towards women. I'll get to that in a moment. This book is really beautiful. I actually read out a passage from it in one of the former videos from this series. I think, was it from this series? Well, at some point I was whittering on about tarot and I know it was the court card episode. In the court card episode I read from this book, and she's just a very beautiful writer. She obviously means a lot to her, this tool. She goes into various different avenues that I think it would be very nourishing for a beginner to read about. Of course she gives definitions for the cards, of course she gives spread ideas, all the usual shizzle that you would expect to find in a tarot book, but it's the way she comes at it. and it's the very serious way and passionate way she writes about it. You can tell that, you know, it really means a lot to her that we get something nurturing from tarot, that we appreciate the tool for everything that it is. I just love the way she writes, and I think if you enjoyed my 10-part course at all, you'll probably like her approach to tarot as a tool. Messages from the Archetypes by Tony Gilbert. Archetypes, obviously, the long and short of it is that tarot is chock full of them, and that we are always being asked to tap into them and think about them and align ourselves with them and that kind of thing. If any of you caught my interview on Every Which Way with Joanna DeVoe, there is a very interesting section of that interview, if I don't mind saying so about myself. There's a very interesting section of the interview where she asks me about archetypes and tarot. And really my response says it all, that, you know, just how passionate I am about it, how obvious it is that archetypes and tarot go hand in hand. So whether or not you are planning on picking up a huge back catalogue of Carl Jung's works, which is totally optional, not part of the course, I definitely recommend picking up Messages from the Archetypes, using tarot for healing and spiritual growth. Tony Gilbert is coming at it from a counselling perspective. She's coming at it from the perspective of tarot for self-exploration, tarot for guidance, tarot for healing, which is all the kind of thing that I really like about the tarot experience and about being a tarot reader. And she does have examples in there from sessions that she's had with clients of hers, and how she's actually used certain tarot techniques to help them tap into their archetypes and heal in that way. So yeah, she does come at it from a very professional point of view, and she gives you a lot of her own first-hand experience of being a reader and using tarot for healing. So I would definitely recommend that one as well. I was not sure whether or not to recommend this one. I mean, I have a lot of tarot books, obviously, as you can imagine. I have a lot of books on tarot. Some of them are great, some of them not so great. Some of them really go into the subject and really sort of help you to be expansive about it. Whereas others are just books that I was bought by other people. You know, like as soon as somebody sees anything in a shop with tarot on it, they just think, oh, Kellyanne will like that. So I have a lot of books that I would consider to be standard fare, you know, not anything that's going to blow my mind, just like some standard card definitions, some standard spreads, and books like that are 10 to a penny. And of course I keep them all and I love them all, but there are obviously ones that I favour and ones that I really don't think are that great for people that are starting a serious journey with tarot. So I was not really sure about this one. I did buy this one myself, but I'm not really sure, like, it's called Tarot Talks to the Woman Within, teach yourself to rely on her support. And obviously it does talk about, you know, this, the strength that women can find in tarot. I mean, I'll just read you a bit on the back. You have a deep reservoir of strength and wisdom within you. Believe me when I tell you that just as most of us use less than 10% of our mental abilities, so too we have a spiritual power that we use not at all. It is tragic if women do not learn to access their unique inner strength. We are under so much pressure to be all things to everyone at different times of even the same day that we all need all the help we can get. The woman within is a personal resource. So basically it is geared towards being a woman and reading tarot for self-exploration and for helping yourself with kind of like the womanly dilemma, if you see what I mean. But the reason that I was kind of a bit iffy about whether or not to recommend it is that when I read it, it wasn't really that geared towards the feminine, and it wasn't really that geared towards being a woman in a modern world. I kind of thought it would have more of a voice for that, when actually, to be fair, a lot of the passages in there, a lot of the discourse is really just about spirituality, and it's not about getting in touch with the female within. It's about getting in touch with the feminine within. And you know, if you've watched the course thus far, you'll know already that feminine and masculine energies in tarot do not pertain to gender. They're not divided by gender. We're supposed to have a healthy dose of both, and men are supposed to be able to tap into their feminine aspect and vice versa. So I did think that there's a lot of stuff in here that actually could apply to men, and I kind of found it was maybe a little bit wasteful that it was kind of about that female experience. But it is really great. The card definitions are really good. They are very much kind of springboards for personal expansion. I like definitions that don't just shut you down. I like definitions that one feels they can spring off from and do their own thing with and add more to. So yeah, there are some good parts in it, and I really liked it, and I think it's a good resource, particularly if you are kind of into maybe the more feminine aspects of your spiritual path, like Dianic Wicca or whatever. You might want a book that has more of a feminine, female, sorry, kind of kick to it. So that's why I've recommended it. What's in the cards for you? I need not say anything about this one because I've done a review on it. I was very pleasantly surprised by this book. I did think it was going to be maybe either quite light-hearted or quite sceptical, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that it was neither. And it also got me thinking in a lot of new ways about the different ways that we can use tarot and tap into tarot, just different ways that we can think about it. So I really, really enjoyed this one. And if you do continue with your journey with tarot, I would definitely recommend that you pick it up. But watch the review first because it is a bit of an acquired taste. Some people don't want, you know, like an exercise book with different experiments you can do. Some people don't want that format, which I can completely understand. But I'm not one of those people that normally likes that format. But honestly, Mark McElroy actually knocked my socks off with this. I really liked it. Thanks, Mark. One that I'm going to recommend for fun, and this is another one for girls. Some of you might kind of roll your eyes at this, and some of you might think it's really cool. But Sasha Graham wrote a book called Tarot Diva, which I picked up for a giggle because I can actually find myself getting way too serious about tarot. And I sometimes think it's nice to approach it in a fun way and approach it in a way that kind of makes me laugh and in a way that maybe I can see a little bit more of the lighter aspects of myself in as well. So basically, on the back it says, grow into your divaliciously divine self. And on the front it says, unleash your fabulosity. So this is the kind of book we're talking about here. But it's a really thick book and she goes through every single card. But the way she does it is really clever. Like, she suggests recipes for certain cards. She suggests kind of like outfits that certain archetypes in the cards would wear. She has like ingredients for like body scrubs and bath salts that you can make, exercises that you can do. It's how can I put this? There's meditations that you can do as well. There's a magical travel spell in here for like one of the cards. So it's a little bit witchy, it's a little bit girl magazine, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, a little bit like Nigella Lawson cookery, kick-ass, you know, girl power, bitch in the kitchen type thing. There's a lot of different elements going on. But if you want something that's just a little bit fun, a little bit kind of light-hearted, then I think it's actually really enjoyable. And sometimes every now and again I do pick it up and I really enjoy it. So that's kind of maybe a little bit of a, I've probably lost half of you there, but you know, I thought it was sweet and fun, and tarot should be fun. You know, it's a great tool, I love it. If I was serious about it all the time, I probably wouldn't love it as much as I do. Two books that I want to recommend for those amongst you who did not start learning tarot with me, but who in fact have maybe just been keeping an eye on the course out of interest or to see what I say, to see if there's anything that I say that you can relate to, but that basically you have like quite a strong background with tarot anyway. I just wanted to include a couple of things for you guys because I do love recommending books and especially love recommending tarot books. So I will recommend these two for you. So that you have something to be getting on with as well. The first one is by Naomi Ozeniak and it's the Watkins Tarot Handbook. This book only focuses on the major arcana and the subject matter within it is deep. Okay, this is not for the faint-hearted and this is certainly not for beginners. Obviously this is something that if you're a beginner you'd probably quite like to go towards if you carry on your journey for any length of time. But yeah, I'm just recommending it for those amongst you who do already have quite a strong grounding in tarot and would maybe want to check out something. Yeah, it's only based on the major arcana. It does talk about the archetypes. It goes really deeply into complex exercises you can use. It also talks at length about the Kabbalistic tree of life and how that reflects in the major arcana, and it talks about the Hebrew alphabet and how that's all connected. So it works around that central theory. And the Kabbalah and Tarot is not a speciality that I've personally thrown myself into with any massive degree of interest, but I am going to this year, so I'm going to go back to this book because it really gave me like a strong foundation to work with, and you know, it did take me to that kind of like next level. It's a next level kind of text. As I said, it's not for beginners. Also, Tarot and Psychology, Spectrums of Possibility by Dr. Arthur Rosengarten. I love this book, it is fantastic. If you are getting to that next level with tarot and you know, you see tarot in very much the same way I do. You follow the psychological model with it. You believe that it can help people to heal, to explore themselves, their psyches, their problems, their pasts, whatever. Tarot and Psychology is absolutely incredible. It is, what a beautiful book this is. It's fantastic. It's written from the perspective of, I believe he's a Jungian psychoanalyst, but don't quote me on that because it's been a while since I actually, I mean, it's dog-eared. You can see I've read it more than once, and there's pages coming out of it. Oh, there's a bookmark in it from the last time I was flicking through it. Yeah, it's an incredible book, and basically it talks about how he kind of like looked at his journey as a therapist and realised how tarot could be instrumental in kind of helping his patients on a deeper level. And he talks about a lot of experience he's had with helping patients who are in groups, kind of talking together as women about various issues, patients who are dying and are trying to come to terms with it with their partners. He talks about studies to do with alcoholism, studies to do with battered wives. I'm sorry if that sounded politically incorrect, but you know what I mean, women who've been domestically abused. He talks about using tarot in all of these different ways and the studies that have been done and the synchronicity that is inherent and how far we can go with proving through any scientific means that, you know, tarot has its real place in the spectrum of things. And just loads and loads of theory about the different cards and what they mean, how they fit together, but written from the point of view of somebody with a lot of background in the psychological profession. So it's actually really, really important. It was an incredible book for me. What a great springboard. It absolutely threw me into the next level, and you know, I could really recommend it for anybody who kind of thinks about tarot the same way that I do, has a passion for it. Pick it up, it's fantastic. Okay, so they are all the books that I would like to recommend with regard to this course. I'd also like to say that if anybody kind of feels like they want to join a forum that would be useful for their progress with tarot, or they want to read a lot from a lot of different readers in a very, very active environment, then definitely join Eclectic Tarot, because the forums there are incredible. They're so active, there's so many different kinds of reader, and they're all giving their opinions on loads of different things. You can go there and ask a question about like a card combination you've had or a problem you're having, and like immediately you will get answers. I mean, it's live all the time. It is the hub for tarot readers. So I would definitely recommend that you go and join that, and I will post the link below for you. And there are like a couple of subscribers forums on there as well, so that like you can pay a little bit extra and get things like professional tarot, where readers who make money doing tarot will exchange ideas and talk about opportunities there are and things like that. So yeah, Eclectic Tarot is fantastic. Remember to take things with a pinch of salt. You know, there are some people that have been reading tarot for a very long time who are kind of maybe going to want to push their idea onto you. But for the most part, it's a very happy-go-lucky forum with lots of different people just talking about their own personal experiences in their own ways that they would interpret the cards. And it is an incredible resource for beginners. It's very important to exchange ideas with other readers, you know, in order to understand that tarot is very, very subjective as a tool. You know, you bring to it what you bring to it, and you expand on the meanings of the cards in the way that you want to. And when you're surrounded by other readers who are doing the same thing, then you're kind of always inspired to make your own meal, if you like. Another thing that I wanted to mention in this final episode of Trainee Tarot is associations that you can join and groups that you can join. I would be very, very savvy and make sure that you look into exactly what is being offered by these various different tarot associations that are around that you can pay to join. Yes, I would agree that there is some kind of status which is attached to things like being a member, for example, of the Tarot Association of the British Isles and things like that. There's a certain amount of status, and you also get like a newsletter, and you know, you might get wind of certain opportunities before anybody else does, I suppose, that kind of thing. But I also think that sometimes it can be a little overpriced for what it is. Those kinds of associations are kind of not always important when you're first starting out, and I understand that there's some prestige attached, or you may feel like you're missing out if you don't join one of them. But I think oftentimes I've spoken to people who've joined different associations, and they told me that, you know, they didn't really get anything that they couldn't have gotten online or from talking to other readers. The only thing they got was kind of like the right to use the little icon that says I'm a member of this association when they were like selling readings and that kind of thing. So I suppose if you're selling readings and you feel like you might need that to kind of reassure people that you are into tarot and whatever, you're part of this association. I guess that's all well and good, but I don't think it's strictly necessary. So I'm just putting that out there now before anybody parts with money that they might not need to part with. And also, as well, I will mention some associations do this thing where they will actually accredit you as one of their readers. So basically, they will recommend you and they will put you out there to other websites, or once you've become an accredited reader, so like an approved reader with one of these associations, then you can put that on your website, like, oh, I'm an approved reader with this association. Be very careful about that, because the way that they normally permit you to become an approved reader is by getting you to do quite a lot of free work first. I've noticed this, and I'm sure there's nothing particularly unscrupulous about it. I mean, they need some way to test that you're a decent reader. But a lot of associations, as I said, they will tell you that you have to come to XYZ function and do readings for people, or they will tell you that you have to work on their website as a free reader, giving free email readings for a certain amount of time, and then you become like an accredited reader. But remember, they're getting that work from you, so just make sure before you actually agree to anything that you think that your effort and the time and resource that you put in is worth that logo that you're going to get at the end, or is worth whatever they're telling you that you're going to get at the end. If it's okay with you and you feel that your work is worth that, go ahead and do it, no problem at all. But just remember to kind of like be a little bit savvy and work out, how much are you getting compared to how much they're getting out of you. That's the important thing to remember. Don't labour under it because you feel like you need that little logo. If you feel like you're actually putting in a lot more than you're going to get out at the end, then rethink. That's all I'm going to say on that. There are so many people on YouTube who have done amazing videos about tarot, whether or not their channel actually pertains overly to the tool of tarot, or whether or not they're just kind of like having a day where they feel like talking about tarot. I have seen so many incredible videos on the subject, and I couldn't possibly make an effort to recommend everybody and talk about everybody. But I did just want to mention two people. The first is Scarlet Hair, who started doing her videos about tarot kind of around the same kind of time, or just before I started my trainee tarot course. Her definitions for the cards are incredible. The way she talks about the cards is incredible. Particularly her definitions for the major arcana, I found really tapped into some themes that I've never even really thought about that much before. And I feel like I'm proficient enough on my journey that I can kind of see that there are different avenues that each card would go down, but she really kind of brought some new things to my attention and made me think, oh, I'm totally looking at that card in a different way. So yeah, check out her series. I'll post a link to her channel below. I was really impressed with her knowledge of tarot. So if you want to go on and watch that as well, if you haven't already, it is a really great resource. And I don't know how I say her name, but I think it's Gian. Gian Fiorini is another one who talks about tarot in a very professional way. She totally has her ethics down. She can talk to you about different issues you're having with it. She'll show you spreads. She'll just talk about different points of interest. I will post the link below as well to her channel. Really impressed by her. So she's another person that I can really recommend if you would like some other points of view, or if you would like other things to watch after this. There is another girl as well, Jen from A Broom in the Moon. She does tarot readings on Etsy, and she actually films the tarot readings that she sells. She actually makes them as videos for her clients. If you would like some practical kind of like evidence-based research to do on how to conduct a reading, how the cards are laid out, how to talk at the correct pace for your querent, and so on her channel, she just has like loads of these client readings that she's done. Every time somebody purchases from Etsy, she like uploads the reading. So this is perfect for beginners who are only just starting to get used to the idea of tone and the pace of the reading. How much should you go into each card and that kind of thing. Watch her and you'll learn a lot. And I myself am going to be doing some readings on the channel and showing some more spreads on the channel, basically also giving you a feel for how I read tarot and how long I spend on each card and how I actually link the cards together and stuff. So yeah, I do think that's a really great thing to watch when you're learning, of course, is just getting the flavour for how experienced people do their readings. A few other things I wanted to say. I said at the beginning of this course that starting a journal is a really, really good way of learning the tool and of becoming more proficient at the tool, more comfortable with the tool, but also allowing yourself to just expand on what you've learned and keep adding ideas. Definitely carry on with your journals, and I'm just letting you know this is my 2013 tarot journal. That's the world on the front, and I am just getting to grips with it slowly, and I'm going to be showing you guys what I've done as time progresses, and hopefully this will give me an opportunity to talk more about the in-depth focus for each card and the different things that I've been thinking about as I've been scrapping and kind of doing what I'm doing with the journal. I'll be able to talk to you about more issues with the cards and more kind of faces of the cards that I've kind of come up with as I'm doing the journal. So yeah, I really love this journal. I'm having a really great time with it. I hope you're having a great time with yours too, whether it's more about writing and doing your daily draw, whether it's more of a scrapping feel like what I've got. You know, it's always really great to bring the creative edge to it, and also to record your progress and record like the different ways that you were thinking about the card at the time, so that you can see how it's progressed and see how it's matured. Another thing that might be quite useful for people who are learning is to start making your own deck. This might seem like something that you would do at a really sophisticated, advanced stage in your tarot learning, but I don't actually think so. I think it might be a really good idea for beginners to actually start putting their own responses down onto cards that they are making to reflect their own experience of tarot and their own emotions with regard to tarot. What I'd suggest is, if you've just got like a couple of old decks of playing cards, or you know, people have decks of playing cards that have like a couple of cards missing and you can't really do a lot with them or something like that, or just go to a craft shop and pick up some craft paper. I started making my own deck of tarot cards last year, and I just started using a deck of tarot cards that somebody bought me that I didn't really align myself with them much. I didn't really think much of them, so I just started crafting over them and making my own deck, which I'm about halfway through now. And I think it's just a really great idea for beginners to do this, because I think, you know, it can allow you to kind of put your own voice to tarot and carry on changing things up, and just carry on putting your own experience down into some kind of artistic context, so that when you end the process, you have like a full 78 card reflection of your own experience, coming from your own emotional standpoint on what each card means. So that might be also another little art idea that you might want to get yourself into, and I've had a really good time with it. So there's that. Another thing I will say finally is tarot groups are a good idea. I've actually never been to a tarot meetup before, but I am going to one in mid-March for the first time, and this was something that I discovered and got into through Eclectic Tarot, so again, definitely worth doing. Yeah, face-to-face groups, start a group maybe. You know, we could start talking about tarot on YouTube if anybody wants to do that. I don't know. Kind of like the pagan perspective, but for people that are obsessed with tarot. I'm not sure how it would go. You know, maybe just request what you want to see from me on tarot, and I can do the same in return. Just let's get a community going if people really want to start talking about the tool and enjoying the tool and stuff. I think that any kind of community, any kind of group that you can check in regularly with would be great, or just kind of encourage each other when we do kind of put tarot videos out there. I love to reflect on other people's experiences and understand what other people have learned. I think it's really great for beginners to always have somewhere that they can go to actually get feedback and to get responses and to have an open dialogue about the tool, because it is complex and it is kind of like a long hard road towards proficiency. So it's always really nice to feel that other tarot freaks out there have your back, and you can just let your tarot flag fly, and we will all kind of like be there cheering you on and supporting you. So I certainly will be anyway. So if there is anything in this 10-part series that you did not see, or anything that was not explained clearly enough, or anything that you would like to see from me in the future with regard to tarot, then just let me know. Drop me a line, write me a comment. And likewise, if there's anything that you didn't see from me and you think, actually, I can talk about that, I know about that, go ahead and do it. You know, let me know that you've done it. I will come and watch. I am obsessed with tarot, and that's not going to change. So keep on, and enjoy the cards. And I really hope that you enjoyed the course, and thank you very much for listening. Bye guys, blessed be.